All right, the midday tape has just delivered a set of numbers that confirms the system overload has reached a terminal velocity that no algorithm can contain. John A.G. has been tracking the internal plumbing of the precious metals markets for over a decade, but what we are witnessing in this session is a total structural collapse of the Western paper mechanism. The bridge between the digital screen and the physical vault has been vaporized by a wall of physical demand that the bullion banks simply cannot answer. While the mainstream media remains silent on the actual inventory numbers, the tape is screaming that the physical silver market has entered a state of permanent decoupling. We are looking at a world where the spot price has become a historical relic, a digital lie that no longer commands the movement of a single gram of refined metal. The registered inventory at the COMEX is now functionally zero for anyone without a high-level sovereign clearance, and the G7 exit doors have officially been locked from the outside. The data hitting the private terminals regarding the current session is simply breathtaking for anyone who understands the mathematics of a structural deficit. We are seeing early bids in the Eastern shadow markets opening at levels that suggest the London and New York exchanges are no longer being consulted for price discovery. John A.G. is doing the math for you right now. The arbitrage gap has expanded into a total market void, where the physical price is now trading at a 50% premium over the paper ticker. Why is this happening? Because the March delivery window revealed a level of physical oversubscription that is statistically impossible to satisfy with current vault levels. The bullion banks have sold the same ounce of silver to 50 different people, and today, all 50 people have shown up at the vault door demanding their metal. The shorts are trapped in a vacuum with zero oxygen, and the realization of a total systemic default is spreading through the clearinghouses like a wildfire. Look at the divergence in global sentiment as the midday trade intensifies across the European corridors. The Shanghai Gold Exchange has signaled that it will no longer accept paper credit as a form of settlement for silver contracts, effectively decapitating the ability of Western banks to suppress the price through digital leverage. John A.G. has warned you for years that the price discovery power would eventually migrate to the hands that actually hold the physical bars. Today, that migration is complete. Every primary refinery in Mexico and South America is reportedly under force majeure instructions, prioritizing domestic strategic reserves over Western export contracts. This is a resource seizure in all but name. The West is being decoupled from the physical reality of the industrial world, and the result is a vertical price move that is leaving the uninformed in a state of absolute paralysis. The systemic lockdown we've been discussing has now moved into the interbank settlement layers. We are receiving reports of collateral rejection from multiple Tier 1 clearinghouses tonight. John A.G. knows that in the high-stakes world of financial warfare, when one major bank refuses to accept another's paper as collateral, the game is over. When the silver collateral disappears from the vaults, the entire pyramid of rehypothecated debt begins to collapse inward under its own weight. They are using this volatility to try and implement manual price overrides, but you cannot override a physical shortage with a keyboard. If the bars aren't in the vault, the digital promises are worth exactly zero. This is the bail-in maneuver entering its most aggressive phase. They are attempting to preserve the institutional architecture by sacrificing the digital balances of the retail public. This is why financial warfare education is your only shield in this environment. The industrial panic has reached a state of absolute hunger for the global tech sector, as the production cycles for high-tech weaponry and renewable energy hit a brick wall. John A.G. has primary sources inside the procurement department of a major aerospace conglomerate who says they have been told zero allocation for high-purity silver for the next 2 quarters. They are now in a direct bidding war with the solar industry and central banks for every available ounce of refined metal. Tesla, Samsung, and Raytheon are no longer looking at the New York ticker. They are sending private teams to secondary refineries, offering triple-digit prices for raw silver grain. The defense shield and the green revolution are both stalling because the miracle metal of the 21st century is no longer available at any price on the open market. The manufacturers have realized the paper market is a fraud, and they are bidding for physical reality. The news from the Mexican mining jurisdictions remains the alpha trigger for the current market explosion. The deployment of military security at the primary mine sites has now evolved into a national security seizure of all refined silver inventory to prevent further export to the Western exchanges. Mexico, the world's leading producer, has realized that their silver is a more stable reserve than the currency they are being paid for it. John A.G. is tracking the shipping manifests, and we are seeing a total halt of concentrate shipments toward the London-New York corridor. This means the 72 million ounces remaining in the COMEX is all the West has left to satisfy a world that consumes over 1 billion ounces a year. This is the resource war moving into its final terminal phase. If you have the metal in your possession, you have a seat on the lifeboat. If you only have a digital claim, you are sinking with the paper ship. The $35 trillion debt wall is the collapsing glacier that is currently crushing the foundation of the banking system. The interest on the U.S. debt is now a mathematical wildfire that is consuming the entire global financial structure in real time. John A.G. sees the price suppression of silver as the final, desperate act of a failing monetary system. If they let the price of silver reflect its true scarcity, which is already happening in the shadow markets, the dollar's credibility vanishes instantly. But you cannot suppress a physical deficit with a digital algorithm once the vault is khali. The registered inventory numbers are a death sentence for the bullion banks. The silver is gone. Move to jurisdictions that value physical reality over digital illusions. The bail-in is the only tool they have left to prevent a total bank run, and the system failure on your screen is the sound of the doors being locked. Look at the gold to silver ratio as it compresses toward the 25-to-1 mark in the current session. This is a historical revaluation that has been suppressed for 50 years by bank manipulation and naked short selling. John A.G. has shown you the data where silver acts as the volatile variable that captures both industrial panic and monetary flight during a systemic reset. While gold is the premier monetary anchor, silver is the rocket fuel. When the ratio reverts to its natural geological mean of 15-to-1, which is now an inevitability, the price of silver will enter a territory that the mainstream experts called impossible. The rubber band has snapped, and it is destroying every naked short position in the global terminal. The reality is that silver is the most undervalued strategic asset on the planet, and the value gap is closing in front of your eyes today. Every emergency update I provide is rooted in the primary source data of the vaults and the delivery notices. The tape today is telling us that the plumbing of the global financial system is officially broken. We are seeing record high fails to deliver, FTDs, being reported in the silver-backed equities and ETFs. This means that even the people who thought they were safe in a brokerage account are finding out they own nothing but an unsecured claim on an empty vault. John A.G. is telling you that the Wednesday blackout was just a stress test for the total cyber polygon reset. In a world of digital illusions and system maintenance messages, the physical bar in your hand is the only financial record that is truly sovereign. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. You are merely an unsecured creditor in a system that has just declared mathematical bankruptcy. The face of shock you see in the data is the face of the institutional banker who realizes that the March delivery madness was not a technical glitch, but the start of the final run on the bank. John A.G. sees this panic in the volume profile of the midday trades. There is a massive ask vacuum. People are bidding $160, $170, $180, but no one is selling physical bars. The owners of the silver are sitting tight. They know that the Western system is insolvent and that a force majeure event is the only logical conclusion for the exchanges this week. The hunter has become the prey, and the prey is out of silver to feed the paper monster they created. The system failure is the only place where the truth is being told tonight. And the truth is that silver is becoming unpriceable in fiat terms. The central banks of the BRICS nations are currently finalizing the framework for a new physical-backed settlement unit that positions silver as a core pillar of the new global economy. John A.G. is tracking the diplomatic flows, and the de-dollarization of the silver trade is now effectively 100% complete in the producer nations. When the world's major manufacturers and energy producers decide to trade in a unit backed by the very metals they need to build their future, the global demand for the dollar drops to zero overnight. We are watching a hostile takeover of global price discovery by the people who actually produce the wealth. The paper changers are being evicted from the temple of finance, and they are leaving with nothing but digital codes that no longer command physical atoms. This is the opening bell for the new monetary era. The no-hype philosophy is about looking at the mathematics of the drain. If you look at the Indian and Chinese physical import data from the last 72 hours, the demand for good delivery bars has increased by a factor of 20. The small man in the East has realized that the paper system is a trap designed to steal their time and their labor. They are choosing the payment over the promise. John A.G. knows that there are 8 billion people on this planet and only a few 100 million ounces of deliverable silver left in the West. The door to safety is only wide enough for the 1% who acted before the force majeure was announced. When the masses realize the banks are empty and the registered vault is at zero, the rush into silver will be the greatest transfer of wealth in 500 years. You are not speculating, you are ensuring your future. Mexico's shift toward military-secured nationalization is the ultimate confirmation of the strategic resource war. If the Mexican government decides that silver concentrate is too vital to export to the West, the COMEX registered inventory becomes a historical footnote within hours. John A.G. is monitoring the diplomatic tension, and it is at a level not seen since the Cold War. The West is realizing that it cannot run a high-tech military or a green economy on paper silver. They need the metal, but the metal is in the hands of the producers who are now demanding a seat at the table of global power. If you don't own the physical metal in your own possession, you are merely a spectator in a war that is being fought for the future of the human race. The system failure is the signal that the exit has been locked forever. The industrial hunger for silver has reached a terminal point where the military-industrial complex is now in a direct bidding war with the tech sector for every available ounce. Every high-tech missile, every satellite, and every advanced communication system requires silver for its superior conductivity. John A.G. has confirmed that the strategic national stockpile in several Western nations is functionally zero today. They have cannibalized their own reserves to maintain their current defense posture. This means there is no backstop for the currency. There is no government rescue coming when the retail public finally realizes the banks are empty. When the registered vaults hit zero, the market will move to no offer status. You won't be able to buy silver at any price because there will be none for sale. The price becomes infinity for those who must have it to survive. The John A.G. logo stands for Financial Warfare Education, because we are in a war for the truth. The banks have the media, the politicians, and the printing presses, but we have the tape, we have the numbers, and most importantly, we have the physical. Today's midday session is a total validation for everyone who ignored the hype and focused on the registered drain. We are on the right side of history, and the great wealth transfer is the event we are living through as we speak. The $35 trillion system is functionally dead. It just hasn't realized it yet because the digital screens are still pretending everything is normal. But the force majeure warnings prove that the illusion is fragile and the reset is inevitable. The physical world is finally demanding its due, and the paper lies are being consumed in the heat of reality. As the London shadow markets prepare for the next fix, the ask prices in the private dealer networks have jumped another 30% in the last 4 hours. John A.G. is seeing silver bars being traded for gold bars at a ratio of 30-1 in the private vaults of Singapore. The official price is a joke that only the uninformed still believe. The real price is being set by the people who have the metal in their possession and are refusing to sell it for fiat currency. This is the market decoupling in its terminal stage. By the time the mainstream news tells you that silver is the new gold, there will be none left to buy. You are the early minority who saw the math, tracked the tape, and prepared for the exit to be closed. The melt-up is the sound of the shorts being crushed. I want to highlight the psychological warfare being used against you today. The headlines today will talk about market volatility and technical recalibrations. This is a lie designed to keep you from pulling your money out of the failing banks. They want to trap you in the bail-in zone before the total exchange shutdown. John A.G. has seen this movie before. In every crisis, they tell the public that everything is fine right up until the moment they lock the vault doors. But the 2026 scenario is different because the physical shortage is so acute that they cannot hide it with paper contracts anymore. The truth is leaking out through the premiums, through the delivery failures, and through the empty, registered vaults. Don't be a victim of their digital illusions tonight. The melt-up is real and the exits are locked. The system failure wasn't a glitch. It was a strategic breakout. The East is preparing the world for a new system where value is based on physical assets, not debt-based promises. John A.G. knows that silver is the ultimate freedom asset. You cannot turn off a physical silver bar with a keystroke. You cannot tax a transaction that happens in physical metal outside of their digital surveillance system. This is why they are so desperate to keep the price suppressed. They want you dependent on their digital lies. But the physical world is finally demanding its due. The producers are striking, the East is bidding $150, and the vaults are empty. The paper system is burning, and the fire is spreading to the foundation of the global banking infrastructure. The melt-up is the funeral of the dollar. We are heading into a window of time that will define the next decade of your life. The March delivery madness has reached a terminal velocity, and the bullion banks are staring into an abyss of physical default. John A.G. predicts that we will see force majeure declared on several major commodity exchanges before the session close. This will effectively end the futures market and move the world back to a physical-only trade model. The paper trap has officially snapped shut. If you are in the physical, you have a seat on the lifeboat. If you are in the paper, you are part of the ship. Stay sharp, watch the tape, and remember, the system has officially snapped under the weight of the silver shortage. The collateral is gone and the truth is out. I'll leave you with this final thought for the midday update. The exit is closed, the vaults are empty, the bail-in is live. John A.G. will be back for the 8:00 p.m. closing tape update as the New York session ends in what will likely be a total market meltdown. We are living through the greatest wealth transfer in 500 years, and the data is the only light in the fog of financial warfare. Stay disciplined, watch the premiums in Shanghai, and for the love of everything, keep your eye on the physical. The paper market is a sinking ship, and the fire has reached the boiler room. It is time to step out of the illusion and into the reality of physical metal. The Monday melt-up has changed the world today. All right, I'm out.